Hi everyone, it's Shari here, and I'm going to be showing you how I made this card with the plaid background using new Simon Says stamp product and new Fawn product as well. I've cut a piece of Nina Solar White cardstock to 6 inches wide, and the reason I've done this is because this new stencil from Simon Says stamp is 6 inches by 6 inches. This is the new Harlequin pattern stencil, and I'm just going to adhere that down to my work surface with this post-it note tape. I wasn't sure that post-it note tape was a product that I really needed because I usually use washi tape, but I got a roll just to give it a go, and I really like it because it's not quite as sticky as washi tape. Sometimes I actually have problems with washi tape tearing my paper, and it's nice and wide. I like that it's paper, and it can be used a couple times actually before it kind of starts to wear out and lose its sticky. So I actually really like it, and I'll probably keep buying it to use in this application. I'm going to be using distressed ink to color my stencil. I'm going to use Tumbled Glass and Salty Ocean. And I'm going to start with Tumbled Glass, which is the lighter of the two blues. And I'm just using my blending tool to color in all those diamond shapes that you see in the stencil there. And I'm going to get it pretty good and inky, and I'm being really careful to make sure that I get it into those really tight corners of those diamonds because I want my design to really stand out and pop. Don't want to forget those nice little points of all those diamonds. So I've applied all that tumbled glass, and you can see I applied quite a bit of ink. You could make it a lot lighter if you didn't want it so bold. And when I pull my stencil up, you can see the pattern that's left behind. Now what I want to do with the darker one is I want one dark diamond lined up with the lighter diamonds and overlapping it. So I've lined it up, and I'm putting a piece of that tape all the way across the top so that I can protect the lighter color that I've already done up there. And you can see that I'm starting to get a hold of my ink and starting to go, and I thought, wait a second, I forgot to do the bottom too, because I only want one row of those dark diamonds. You could actually do both rows if you wanted, but the look I want for this card is just one row of those darker diamonds over top. So you can see that I'm taking another piece of that tape and putting it right across the top of those bottom ones, those bottom openings, just to protect the bottom part of those diamonds I've already inked as well. And I'm going to go in with the Salty Ocean and the Distress Ink tool here, and you can see where the two colors overlap. It's darker and it kind of has a nice little blending effect. I'm going to add a lot of ink, so that's going to kind of fade away, but it is a look you could get. You could also do two different colors and they would blend together, which is interesting too, which is something I've tried as well. And I've got a lot of ink on there. I'm going back in and I'm doing where the 2 points kind of touch a lot more, just so it kind of has a little darker shading, because that's just the look I wanted. So when I pull this up, you can see those dark diamonds overlapping those lighter ones. So I'm going to trim it down. I trimmed off all the extra, but I want to make sure that my card front is lined up with a diamond right down the center. So what I'm doing now is I'm using that Tim Holtz ruler, which has a centering measurement line on it. I don't know if you've ever used it before, but you can see that 0. I'm lining it up with the point of those diamonds there, and then I'm going to make a mark 2 inches on each side. So now I know that that big diamond in the middle is going to be lined up right in the middle of my card. And I'll use those pencil marks just to trim my panel down on my trimmer. So I'm trimming it to 4 inches wide so that when I put it on a card base, it's going to have a slight mat to it. It's going to have an 1/8 inch mat all around each side. So I'm trimming the edges down, and then I'm going to do the same with the top so that the final size of this card panel is 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 high, and it'll fit on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base and create that 1/8 inch mat all the way around. So I've created a card base out of some Hero Arts layering paper in black, and that's going to create that little frame around it. But I thought that the white was a little too white. I kind of want to dull it down a little bit. So I'm using that pumice stone distress ink and a blending tool there just to kind of blend the edges in and give it a little bit of gray distress look. So you can see how that looks on that card base right there. Now I'm going to take the Schoolhouse backdrop stamp set from Fawn because there's that single line. It's part of the stamp set, and I've mounted it on a block here using the grid on that block to make sure it's straight. And you're going to see me cut out parts of this because my head was in the way. But I'm inking it up with some wet cement ink because it kind of matches the pumice stone. And I'm just using that edge of the dark diamond to line up where I want to stamp this line. So you can kind of see how it's coming together. And I'm getting right over top of it so I can see what I'm doing. That's why I cut those pieces out, because all you could see was my fuzzy hair. So I'm just going to finish up doing all those so you can see how that makes it more look like an argyle pattern. Now I wanted to go in where the dark diamonds were and use my white gel pen to make some dash lines. So you can see my scrap piece. I was testing out my colors there before I messed up my panel. And I'm using the subtle edges of where those diamonds overlap as my guide where to draw my little white lines. You can kind of still see them a little bit. And now it really looks like some argyle sweater or socks there. And I used the new Spring Showers die set from Fawn to cut out 2 clouds out of the white cardstock. And then I used the Quinn's Capitals dies to cut out the H and the I. And I used a piece of scrap paper, so what I did was I just swiped that black soot distress ink pad that you see there to the right across directly on the paper to make my own black cardstock, just to cut out those 2 letters, because there was no sense getting some more black cardstock out just for those 2 letters. Now I'm using the pumice stone again, and I'm going to make the clouds a little gray so that they match my background more. I'm actually going to add a little more ink to the clouds so that they stand out from the background. And I'm adding a little of the tumbled glass as well so that it's kind of more of a blue-gray cloud than just gray. And now that I've got those pieces ready, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that plaid panel down to my card base. You can see that little frame that's all the way around it. Make sure it's nice and even. And then I'm just figuring out the placement of my pieces here. So I want to pop these pieces up. So I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back of that big cloud. And it's adhered down now. And then for the little one, it's going to be on top of that big one. So what I'm doing is I'm going to double up the foam adhesive along the bottom edge of this cloud. And then on the top edge, I'm just going to put 1. And that will be on top of the cloud that's already on there. So it'll give it a little layering effect. That smaller cloud will be higher than that bottom cloud. And I could have used some of that thin foam adhesive too, but this is an easy way if you don't have any of that to get the same effect. So you can see that it's kind of 2 layers here. So with the letters, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the foam squares just on the bottom half of the letters, and then I'm going to use some liquid glue for the top half because they're going to adhere right on top of that bigger cloud that's in the background. And I'm going to use my tweezers to help me put them down so that my hands don't get in the way. I can see what I'm doing. It's a lot easier sometimes when you've already got a bunch of pieces in there and you're trying to fit it in a smaller space to use the tweezers. So you can see that top part's just on top of that cloud. And then I'm gonna decided I wanted some pop to these letters, so I'm gonna cover them in Glossy Accents, which will dry clear and nice and shiny. I also went in with my Week of Stella glitter brush in the clear and just touched the top of those clouds, just the puffy tops of those clouds with some glitter. So that Glossy Accents will dry nice and shiny and clear and really pop on that background of the plaid. So that's the card for today. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.